I dropped a video talking about how I broke a trigger return spring in a polymer framed PDP after, I don't know, about 3 years of use, and I got a bunch of questions. So, as commonly do, I get a lot of Walther questions, and I try to be, responsive to that stuff. On this video, there's just a lot of questions, so I thought I'd talk through them just briefly and answer everyone's questions, and it saves me the hassle of trying to type out a response to every one of these, because there's quite a few. So, and full disclosure, I'm not paid by Walther or obligated to say nice things. They do send me, I've got some magazines and a few pistols over the years from them, but it's not enough of a bribe, so I'm not obligated to say anything nice, but I really do like the pistols a lot. I think they're a great choice for a lot of reasons. So, first question. I love my PDP Pro E. So I believe, I'm not even up with all the lingo, but that would be a dynamic performance trigger, or the Pro would be. It feels good and shot good. However, it's kind of hard to find spare parts for the pistol. In your experience, is because the market for the PDP has not matured enough, or is it for other reasons? Honestly, it's like, yeah, I think the PDP is cool, but if you compare it to a Glock or a Smith & Wesson M&P that's been getting police contracts for years, military contracts, how many of them there are out there, obviously Glock's going to be a bigger market, but also, like, what would you really do? Like, what product do you think needs to get made? Is the flip side to the coin. Like, this trigger, real talk, is good. So just a little bit of, like pre-travel take-up, whatever. The trigger's super crisp. It's light. It's, I don't know, let's say 3 to 4 pound range, whatever. It's a super nice trigger. Other than like got a poly and a steel frame here. Other than the steel frame gun, to make different size back straps, or I suppose different optics plates or recoil springs, I don't really know what else there is to do to the guns. So, I don't know. I think like some of the other guns like Glocks, or Smith & Wesson M&P, the factory triggers aren't super hot, so there's a lot of reasons to put in aftermarket parts and change stuff. These guns are kind of good to go as is, so maybe that's why there's not as much aftermarket stuff, but I don't know. The only stuff I guess I would care about is grips. So for the steel frame, which there are, for the polygun, you can change different back straps to the company that makes some of those, different recoil springs, weights, different optic plates, obviously. There are aftermarket triggers, like Overwatch makes one. I don't know why you'd buy it, because the dynamic performance trigger is so good. I can't find a reason why I'd want to try a different one. And then for iron sights, they take Glock, like Glock 17 pattern iron sights, so it's pretty easy. So the next question, just curious if you remove the plastic, this is iron, but in quotes, plastic sights from your PDPs, did they distract you while shooting? I've got a couple like set up both ways. Normally, I just remove them, like I did on this one, to take the front sight out. It's the same little tool that you use. I think it's a 5mm socket, like what you use to take off a Glock front sight. And normally I take that out, and then before I even mount an optic, I just set the slide down on my bench, set a punch next to the rear sight, and just, give it a little tap, tap, tappy, and then next thing you know, it falls right out. So normally I do take the iron sights off them. However, Parker Mountain Machine has sent me a couple uppers over the years, one for a poly gun, one for a steel frame gun. Those had irons on it. The one for the polygun has the OEM plastic sights, and the steel frame one has like kind of co-witness iron sights. They're a little bit low. So I don't know if you'd call it lower third co-witness kind of. And I never even noticed they're there on either pistol. The plastic sights are low enough that I wouldn't see them anyway through the window. And the one on the steel frames, like, I'm trying my very best to be target focused, so I never even noticed that the sights are there, or I don't use them at all. If anything, once in a while I would use it just to check parallax, or maybe just like kind of move it around to see if the irons align with the dot, but otherwise I don't need them or don't use them at all, so they don't distract me. The next question, is the beaver tail different on the steel frame? Been running a Poly Pro E, and that's my only complaint. Wrecked my thumb the first month, but it's still worth it. Still can't get over the groups. I shot at 25 meters, zeroing it, but I recommend them to everyone, but some people can't get past the beaver tail. So it sounds like he has a problem with the beaver tail on the poly gun, since he's asking about the steel frame. And try my best to get angles where you could see. Yes, like the guns are set up differently. I'm terrible at this camera stuff. Oh, there we go. But the comparing the two, the poly gun is a little bit narrower. So the steel frame gun in the beaver tail area is just a tick wider. And the other factor with this one, the steel frame, is you can change the grips. So that kind of gives you the option to how wide the grip's going to be or how your kind of firing hand is going to connect with the pistol. So that might help also if you're having an issue with getting chewed up. I don't get, like my hands are kind of permanently deformed from shooting, but the kind of the Glock knuckle thing, I don't notice that with the poly or the steel frame guns. It's not an issue. Like holding this, I can see where my like thumb would get that kind of Glock knuckle by the way it contacts the frame, but I'm not really, like with my thumb, I don't try to put pressure into the gun or do anything. It just kind of hangs out. So I haven't noticed a difference, but yes, the beaver tail is an issue or is different on the SF. You can change the grips to change like the way the pistol feels or how fat the gun is. I definitely would not buy one. If you're having an issue, I would not buy one until you got to test drive one. So hopefully a friend has one or go mess around with one as a gun at the gun store, something like that. The next question, as far as grips go, is it if it's too small, are you not able to change the back strap to a larger one? So what I believe he's talking about is, if anything, the poly guns, the frame is just a tick small for me. The way these work is, well, hopefully you can see the line. This little piece, kind of right here, comes out. You just punch out this roll pin, and the piece kind of hinges out. So the bottom part hinges out first, and there's a little tab at the top that slides in. So you can remove these. I've got the medium in it in my guns, what I use, and I don't know, probably not going to be good enough with the camera stuff. Ooh, yeah, whatever. So you see the M right there on that top edge. That's how you can tell the difference or which model it is. So the issue I tried the small one originally, and it was just too small in diameter, not going to work. Shot the medium for a bit, and I wish I had just a tick more for my firing hand. When I tried the large, it increased it from front to back in a way that it made it tougher to get on the trigger or to reach the trigger, so I didn't like the reach of the gun as much. So when I grab the pistol or connect the pistol, I want to be able to have my finger, I don't know, like it was just meant to be. My finger is easily able to get to the trigger and no issues reaching the trigger there or, any of that kind of stuff. So with the poly guns, the medium one was the best fit because I needed to be able to reach the trigger, which does make the grip a little bit small for me. And the way I got around that, one of the fixes is doing the silicone carbide on my guns, which it just increases the diameter of it slightly and gives me more to put my support hand on to connect with. So doing that has made the guns just a tick bigger in diameter, but hasn't changed the reach to the trigger enough, and I like it quite a bit. So that was my fix because the large back strap was just too far back for my liking. The next question. Let's see. Why don't you use the large back strap of the Poly PDP? Oh, sorry. I answered that one. Have I ever tried the Walther 50 tungsten guide rod? I have not. I had a student in a class in Texas give me a Sprinko makes a guide rod and spring setup. It made the gun really snap back immediately. I've got one of those in my basement that I need to try, but I have not done that yet. And I believe that's just for the steel frame. But I'll have to verify which gun that can be done in. And I'll get that tested, well, hopefully within the next couple of months. Let's see. If only only the Walther steel frame match was available to purchase everywhere. So I think there is a bit of a shortage with the 5-inch Walther guns for the steel frame, but the 4.5 is more available. So I've had a handful of people message me asking if they should get the 4.5-inch gun, if it's as good as a 5-inch and that kind of stuff. Honestly, I've had people shoot them both and say the 4 or 5 better, and some people like the 5-inch gun better. Thank you. My wife's lovely about giving commentary. Too bad. Couldn't you be in the kitchen or something? Go make some food or clean something. But I think the recoil impulse is slightly different. I think the 5-inch gun makes the most sense for sport shooting, just because you have the longer barrel for more like power factor, and I don't know. It's not going to change the sight radius, but it does change the way the guns recoil a bit. So normally the lighter guns, just with having less metal and material, is going to change the recoil impulse slightly. Next question or comment. Have both the poly match and the steel frame match. Overall, I like the steel frame more. I think the weight helps on doubles. So he's talking about rapid fire pairs. And when you run into a position, the gun settles easier and faster. However, the poly match is faster on the draw because of the weight, and doing transition is also nicer. They both run. If you can't go wrong with either way, just go train, grab them. Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. So what he's talking about, the poly gun especially, well, it'll be in the near future. I already pinged Nick Young this morning, say, hey, send me that video. But we did some training at his place, and I had Nick was kind of running the training for one of the videos we did, and there was targets at maybe 5 or 7 yards, 3 targets, and the idea was draw and shoot an aggressive kind of a bill drill, and then match that pacing between changing the targets. Nick was trying to be mean to me, so the order was the middle target with 2 shots, then the left target 2 shots, then the very right target with 2 shots. So that's a lot tougher than just going left to right or right to left, because it was middle, left, right, while pulling the trigger 6 times as fast as I can. For that trip, I had polyguns with me, and I'll say, I don't remember the times, but I was in the 1.6s, 1.7s when I started to really get after it, because this gun's just easier to move between the targets. It's easier to draw. There's a lot of things for gun handling that I think is better about this. But like what the person's saying, if you're shooting doubles, the rapid fire pairs, or shooting stuff at distance, the metal gun soaking up the recoil does help a little bit. So it's just preference. I don't think there's a right or wrong. The only other 2 cents I would say is the polymer frame guns cost about half of what the steel frames do. And sorry, Walther people, I don't think the steel frame is twice as good as what the polymer frame is. So maybe it's slightly better, but I don't know that it's double the money better. It's just kind of preference. But I like the idea of having 2 pistols. So if kind of on a budget or money conscious, if you're able to get 2 poly guns or 1 steel frame gun, I'd choose the 2 poly guns just because you have a backup. Even though, honestly, I don't really break many things, but still, I like the idea of having a backup. Let's see. Can I convince myself that there's one gun to rule them all? He thinks so. I've had a bunch of people ask about this. Springfield Echelon pistol for months and came to like it. Definitely favorite. Put some money into it. Now it's almost as good as the dynamic performance trigger in the Walther. Snap is very mild. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say they like that. My friend Lucas has one. I don't know of anybody else that has one. I've already got enough pistols, but who knows? At some point, maybe I'll get one to shoot it. Because I've had a bunch of people comment and say they like it, and I think the Optic mounting system is pretty good on those also. Let's see. The polymer PDP is my current favorite. Agree with you about the grip feeling a bit small, which is why I prefer using a large back strap that comes with the gun. Although it does nothing for the width of the grip, it just makes it feel my hand better. Touch more real estate for the support hand. Yes, so that'd be probably the only criticism with that. If you change it to the large back strap, it only changes the diameter from front to back, but not width-wise for the pistol. So in turn, it still gives you more real estate to get your support hand on the gun. It is with a polymer. It is what it is with a polymer frame gun. Otherwise, doing the silicone carbide, something like that, to add real estate or tape, the grip tape stuff. I think Talon offers an option that's going to increase the diameter of the grip also. Let's see. Next one started with a 4.5 poly. Now use the 5-inch match. Likes it better with the steel frame. Next, getting a 4.5 steel frame. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, people do that quite a bit just to see what they like. Like I said, if you can get the 4.5 steel frame right now, it does make sense. I think the 5-inch gun, if you're just going to buy one gun and that's it, I think getting just the full-size pistol makes the most sense, especially for sport shooting, if you're into any of the practical shooting games. Let's see. Yeah, okay, this is pretty funny. It's funny Walther makes an F model for people with smaller hands, while the standard PDP is on the smaller side grip-wise. I'm over here with XXL hands. Like, what about me? I agree with that. I've messed with, well, I've never actually shot the F model PDP. I've only dry fired one a little bit, and it did feel like the grip was small. So I don't have any experience with those, but yeah. Let's see. Like the weight of the steel frame. Let's have your small. Yep. Some more just preferences like grips, palm swell bogeys. So if you have XL hands, the steel frame's much better choice. I do agree with that. If you're having issues, like with the grip, having the steel frame gun's bigger, or gives you the option to change the grips. Let's see. Question: what plate are we using? So I like the Arise Manufacturing plates. I use those with the steel and polyguns. I like the lowrider plate just because it's kind of the thinner option of the ones he makes. The plates kind of snap into place, so when you push down, it almost clicks. And well, a few tough to find, but on one of the YouTube videos I did where I was mounting a red dot in I think it was in a hotel room on Ben's guns. I snapped the plate on, put the optic in place, and then I was shaking the gun, just holding it by the optic, and it all like stayed together. The dot did not disconnect from the gun or fall apart or anything, which is kind of cool for how tightly it all fits together, even without having the hardware. Let's see. Just to mess with people, I think you should make one video a week about the polymer gun being superior, then a week later making the steel frame, saying the steel frame is clearly superior. Yeah, I agree completely. And yeah, the next person said, I said it depends on your budget. Don't go bankrupt shooting USPSA. I completely agree. So currently my favorite is the polymer frame gun, just because I've been training with it more recently. But as that changes and I shoot the steel frame again, then I'm sure I'll think that's better just because I'm kind of trained up with it. But as of right now, if I had to pick one, I would say the polymer frame one right now is currently my favorite. All right, well, there's a bunch more comments, but mostly people saying that they like what guns they have. So I think that answers all the questions anyway. Oh, last one. Somebody says it does not like the snappiness of the PDP. Good thing. I appreciate you commenting on that. So that, I think, is the one complaint people have, especially with the polymer frame gun. It feels kind of sharp, the way the gun recoils. It's definitely oversprung. So when you're shooting it kind of in your wrist, it feels just like a sharper recoil. With a gun just out of the box, I'll shoot the same, if I'm shooting doubles, the rapid fire pairs, I'll get the same like group on the target between one of my guns that I've changed the springs in and the factory gun, but it just feels more torquey. So all I do is change the recoil spring to a ZR Tactical 15-pound spring. I know Springco makes springs also, like I said earlier, I'll have to test those, but the ZR Tactical 15 is what I use. And that makes the gun feel a lot less snappy. So it's slightly annoying that you have to spend $50 or so on a gun that you just bought new, but that does change the issue if you think the gun snaps too much or too much recoil. So appreciate you guys commenting on the video and asking questions, all that kind of nonsense. Hopefully I got to all the questions you guys asked, but if there's anything I missed, feel free to drop it below. I'll just make another video, or just reply in the comments if it's an easy yes, no, or a sentence or so to answer. So like, share, subscribe, and all that nonsense, since I'm going to get yelled at if I don't say that. I'm supposed to tell you my website's joelparktraining.com. That's it. Have a great day. Appreciate you watching.